My husband hit me. His mother reaction changed everything. The shocking truth. Watch how a mother reacted. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into my channel. Today, I'm sharing my story not for pity, but because if it helps even one person out there recognize the signs and get out, it's worth it. This is me talking, straight from the heart, about how my husband hit me right in front of his own mom, and her reaction. It flipped everything upside down. I'll never forget that day. For 3 long years, I lived in constant fear of David. It didn't start out like some horror movie, it crept in slow. You know. Little things at first. A quick slap because dinner was cold, or he'd shove me if I disagreed with him. Then it'd be slamming doors, followed by those fake apologies. Babe, I'm sorry, it'll never happen again, he'd say, flowers in hand, acting all sweet, but it always did. I walked on eggshells, trying not to set him off, blaming myself half the time. Maybe if I was better, quieter, more perfect, it'd stop. That weekend, his mom, Margaret Morrison, was visiting. She was everything I wasn't, elegant, educated, from old money in our small town where her family name opened every door. From day one, she made it clear I didn't measure up. I was just the girl from the wrong side of the tracks, who trapped her precious son with a pregnancy that didn't even last past the first trimester. She never said it outright, but her little digs, they cut deep. She'd run her finger over the furniture, hunting for dust, or casually mention how David's ex was such a gourmet cook from a real family. Every visit felt like a pop quiz I bombed. I busted my butt that weekend to impress her. Cooked her favorites, cucumber sandwiches with the crusts cut off. Earl Grey tea brewed just right, even a beef Wellington that took me 6 freaking hours. I cleaned the house twice, vacuumed rugs that didn't need it, polished silverware that was already shiny, swallowed my tears every time she nitpicked the food wasn't seasoned right. My outfit was too casual. The guest room flowers were arranged wrong. Her looks made me feel like a stain on her fancy couch. Something gross she couldn't ignore but wouldn't bother commenting on. The air just got heavy wherever she went. The blow-up happened over something stupid, like always. I accidentally used the fine china for lunch instead of saving it for dinner. My hands were shaking, setting the table. I just wanted to please everyone, and I grabbed the wrong plates. Those Heavyland ones with the blue roses, a gift from David's grandma. Each one cost more than my paycheck from the bookstore. David spotted it and turned beet red, that vein in his forehead throbbing like a warning siren. "What the hell is wrong with you?" he hissed, low and mean, the kind that twists your gut. "Those are for the Hendersons tonight. This stuff's worth more than you make in a month." I mumbled sorry, scrambling to switch them out, careful not to chip anything. His mom didn't even blink, just sipped her tea with that perfect lipstick, like nothing was happening. For a split second, I thought her being there would hold him back. He worshipped her opinion more than anything, even my safety, apparently. Boy, was I wrong. He grabbed my wrist so hard I felt my bones grind, his fingers digging in like vices. "You never learn, do you? Dumb as a rock. Can't follow simple instructions. How many times I gotta tell you?" Fear hit me like a wave, choking me up. This was how it always started: insults, humiliation, then the pain that left marks. I tried yanking away, but he squeezed tighter. Tears blurred my vision as I begged, glancing at his mom, hoping she'd step in. "Please, you're hurting me," I whispered, my eyes pleading. But she just kept on with her tea, like she was watching some boring TV show. No help coming from her. To her, I was probably just the scroop, embarrassing her son. The kind of wife who drives a man crazy because she can't get it right. And then, right there in our spotless dining room, under that crystal chandelier, and on the mahogany table, it happened. David raised his hand and slapped me so hard my ear rang, and I tasted blood. I stumbled back into the sideboard, my hip slamming hard, nearly knocking over a crystal vase. I caught it just in time, feeling even more pathetic, like I couldn't even get hit without causing another mess. I stood there, face burning, waiting for his mom to freak out, yell, something. She was all about image. I figured violence in her perfect home would cross the line, even if just to save face. Nope. Margaret set her teacup down gently, the clink echoing like a death knell. "David Anthony Morrison," she said, firm and sharp as a knife. "What have you just done?" The way she said it froze him mid-air, hand still up. It wasn't shock, it was like she'd seen too much in life. That mom voice that scares you straight, probably the same one that terrified him as a kid. He stammered, trying to explain, but she raised one finger, shutting him down like she owned the room. I asked you a question, she repeated, cool as ice. What did you just do to your wife? David's face went white, then red, like a bad TV signal. I could see the wheels turning, scrambling for an excuse, flipping the blame like he always did. She was being disrespectful, he whined, sounding like a sulky teen. She needs to learn to obey. You know how careless she is with nice things, always breaking stuff or screwing up. Margaret stood up slow, her chair scraping the wood floor like a gunshot in church. She's tiny, barely 5 feet 3 inches in heels, but she filled the space like a giant. Her face had this look I'd never seen, not rage, but something colder, predatory. David backed up against the wall, like a cornered animal. Sit down, she commanded. He dropped into the chair, like he'd been scolded, mouth flapping open and shut, fish out of water. Margaret walked over to me, her heels clicking precise on the floor, like she was used to being in charge. I braced myself, thinking she'd come at me next, finish what her son started. Blame me for the China mix-up, for making him look bad, for being the wife who pushes him over the edge just by breathing. But no. She took my chin gently with her manicured hands and tilted my face to the window light. It was so soft, like she was checking a damaged antique she could fix with care. The slap mark was already bruising, gonna last weeks, and my lip was split, blood tasting metallic. My mouth throbbed. How long? She asked, quiet, eyes locked on mine, impossible to look away. How long, what? I whispered, confused by the sudden kindness, the concern in her gaze, like she actually gave a damn. How long has my son been hitting you? The question hung thick, suffocating. I felt David's stare burning holes, silently threatening what'd happen if I spilled. That old fear crawled up my spine, the one that kept me silent and trapped for 3 years in a marriage, killing me bit by bit. No, it's not like that. I mean, he didn't. I tried lying, words sticking like glue from practice. Don't lie to me, she cut in, voice low but hard. I've been watching you for 3 years. I know fear on a woman's face when I see it. That careful way you move, the fake smiles, jumping at slamming doors or raised voices. She turned to David, her tone dropping dangerous. 3 years ago, you came back from your honeymoon with a black eye, said you hit your head on a boat beam. I knew it was bull. I just thought maybe you'd found someone tough enough to fight back. I almost felt proud thinking you picked a fighter. David stood frozen, mouth agape, terror creeping in. Mom, I raised you better than this, she continued, voice building like a storm. I taught you real men, protect women, not scare them. Honor, not using size to bully someone who can't hit back. Your dad had his flaws, God knows plenty, but he never laid a hand on me or you kids in anger. He wasn't a coward. I knew it wasn't that simple. I'd heard whispers from David's sister about their dad's rages, holes in walls, mom's long sleeves in summer, extra makeup hiding bruises. But Margaret seemed to pretend yelling and intimidation didn't count as real violence. Or maybe she'd convinced herself of her own story. She went to her fancy leather purse worth more than my monthly groceries, and pulled out her phone. The latest model with a matching case. What are you doing? David asked. Real panic now, pale, vein popping. Calling your sister Catherine, then the cops. Silence hit like a brick, broken only by the ticking clock and my pounding heart. Even the birds outside shut up. David jumped up, chair crashing. You can't do that, he yelled, voice cracking like a kid's tantrum. This is between me and my wife. Stay out of our marriage. Margaret looked at him like crap on her shoe. Everything you do matters when it's wrong, she said, calm and cutting. I didn't spend 30 years building respect in this town in boards, events, being a role model for you to drag the Morrison name through the mud. Beating your wife like some uneducated thug. That's when it clicked. It wasn't pure compassion or justice driving her. She was protecting the family rep in our gossipy small town where status is everything. But honestly, I didn't care why. For the first time in years, someone stood between me and his fists. That mattered. David switched tactics, using that smooth voice he pulled on me, making me believe it was my fault, that I provoked him with my clumsiness, my stupidity. Mom, you don't get it, he said, hands out like he was reasonable. She pushes my buttons on purpose, knows how to wind me up. I lose it for a second, but she drives me there. She's not as innocent as she looks. Margaret raised her hand, stopping traffic style, her ring flashing. I've heard that crap before, she said, cold as stone. From your dad justifying punching the kitchen wall. From every weak man blaming others for his emotions. every coward pointing at the victim for his lack of control. She turned to me, and for the first time in 3 years, her eyes were almost motherly. Something, my own mom, gone since I was 16, never gave. Pack your bags, she said soft. You're leaving with me today. We'll sort the rest later. I can't, I blurted, programmed after years with David. David needs me to prep dinner for the Hendersons. They're coming at 7. The roast's in the oven, dessert's not started. I have to stay and handle it. David will learn actions have consequences, she snapped. No room for argument. And you need to remember you're a person with worth, not a maid, punching bag, or object for his whims. If the Hendersons care so much about dinner, tell Em to order pizza. David lunged forward, faced that dangerous red I knew too well. She's not going anywhere, he growled, same threat as our worst fights. She's my wife. We vowed before God in joy and sorrow, health and sickness, till death do us part. She can't leave over a little spat. Margaret smiled then, but not kindly, like she'd cornered her prey. Actually, she said, pulling a thick yellow folder from her bag like a magic trick, she's about to be your ex-wife. The folder was heavy, stuffed with photos and papers I'd never seen, bound with rubber bands and clips. She spread them on the mahogany table like dealing poker cards, but lives were at stake. 3 years of documentation, she explained, calm but cruel, like chatting weather. Every bruise, excuse, time you showed her off at family events with marks, spinning tales of accidents or clumsiness. The photos gut-punched me, sharper than I could handle. Me at Christmas dinner, finger marks on my arm, half hidden by my red dress sleeve, but obvious if you knew. Easter lunch, split lip blamed on tripping with groceries over the cat. My birthday, black eye caked in makeup and dim lighting, but detectable to sharp eyes. How'd you get these? I whispered, staring at proof of pain I'd tried hiding, forgotten snapshots. Hired a pie, 2 years ago, she said, casual, like hiring a plumber. Discreet family specialist. I suspected, but needed proof before acting. Can't make big moves on hunches. The detective was thorough. It made my head spin. ER records from when David shoved me into the coffee table during a fight over his game, needing stitches. Bank statements showing my bookstore paycheck went straight to his account. I had no access. Call logs to my sister, cut short when he came home early. Photos through windows, him grabbing me, yelling, cornering me with raised fists. Audio of arguments from hidden devices I never knew about. He talked to neighbors who'd heard screams and crashes but never called cops, didn't want to meddle. Co-workers confirmed I showed up bruised, terrified of my husband. David lunged at the photos, clumsy and desperate, but Margaret, elegant and older, was quicker. She scooped them back, clutching the folder like a shield. You're pathetic, she told her son, voice dripping contempt I'd never heard. Weak man taking it out on a woman, to feel big, too cowardly to face his demons. Worse than your dad, he at least had a rough childhood excuse. You had everything, school, money, chances. Look what you've done. That's when David lost it completely. The polite facade he kept for mom crumbled. He charged her with the rage he usually saved for me, arm raised to hit the woman who birthed and raised him. But Margaret didn't survive 40 years with a tough husband or raise 3 kids without learning defense. She dodged nimbly for her age and kneed him right in the groin. David crumpled like a sack, gasping on the shiny floor, face purple, curled fetal on Grandma's Persian rug. Margaret smoothed her blazer, straightened her skirt, and grabbed her phone again. Now I'm calling the police, she said matter-of-fact, stepping over her writhing son like he was just clutter. The next hours blurred, uniforms, flashing lights in our quiet neighborhood of manicured lawns and magazine homes. Sirens wailed down streets where nothing exciting ever happened. We gave statements separately while social workers noted everything. Detectives asking questions I'd never dreamed of answering. Detective Rodriguez, a tired-eyed woman, kind but seasoned, grilled me gently. How often did he hit you? Ever threatened to kill you? Feared for your life? Control your money or cut off family? Monitor calls and emails? Isolate you? Yeah, he controlled the cash. Convinced me to ditch friends who disliked him. Checked my phone, emails. I feared the worst in his rages. All along, Margaret held my hand firm, her fingers cold but steady, grounding me in the chaos. Her eyes tightened when the detective mentioned what forensics would find. David got arrested for domestic violence, hauled out in cuffs under neighbors' stares from perfect windows and yards. The great David Morrison Country Club star. Dad's law firm Golden Boy screaming threats from the squad car, while his mom watched with cold satisfaction. Later, in Margaret's pristine living room with light furniture and fresh flowers, I finally asked what bugged me since she stood up to him. Why now? If you knew for 2 years, gathering evidence, why not help sooner? She stared out at her flawless garden, silent. Then she opened an old jewelry box and pulled a worn photo. A young woman with dark hair and sweet eyes smiled like she believed in happy endings. Wedding dress from 40 years ago, lace, pearls, dreams. "This is my sister Rebecca," Margaret said, soft voice I'd never heard so tender. "Murdered at 26 by her husband with a crowbar in their garage. Kids asleep upstairs, oblivious." My heart raced, mouth dry. Never knew David had an aunt. Family stories were polished successes and charities. "I was supposed to be her maid of honor," Margaret went on, fingering the photo like treasure. "Ended up at her funeral 6 years later, under the rain at her grave. I swore no woman in our family would suffer like her. No more ignoring signs." "But you never liked me," I said, piecing it. "Always made clear I wasn't good enough for David. Criticized everything, made me feel like a mistake." Margaret sighed, her 64 years showing. "I was protecting you the only way I knew. Thought if I pushed you away, showed this family wasn't for you, you'd be safe. But when I saw you were like Rebecca, loyal, hopeful, thinking love fixes everything, I knew I had to change tactics." She opened another folder, thicker with papers. Needed ironclad proof to lock him up, not just a slap on the wrist and therapy. Stuff a judge couldn't ignore to keep him away forever. It was impressive. Honeymoon medical records showing abuse signs, not a fall. Police calls from watchful neighbors. Witness statements from clerks on his controlling public behavior. "I needed certainty," she repeated, shadowed by her sister's tragedy. "Act too soon without proof. He'd wise up, isolate you more, maybe take you away, and next time, could be worse." The divorce dragged 8 months. A war of courts and lawyers. Margaret hired the best. Patricia Chen, expert in shielding women from abusive husbands, never lost a client. Small, sharp, laser-focused on safety. David threw everything. Hired a team, painted me unstable, like I provoked the violence with incompetence or manipulation. Called me gold digger who trapped him, ruined his life as a lousy wife. But the photos killed their case. Medical records eroded the judge's trust in him. The PI's testimony debunked mutual abuse or provocation claims. Recordings showed the real David. No lawyer could spin that. In one brutal hearing, Patricia played audio of David threatening to kill me if I left, his voice clear, menacing. He'd hunt me, make me pay for humiliating him. The judge paled, hands clenching as she listened. He got 5 years for aggravated domestic violence, possible parole in 3 with intense anger management and psych eval. Judge was tough, reoffend and it's longer. I got the house, alimony to rebuild, lifelong restraining order. Margaret and I weren't BFFs, but we built something mutual respect from shared pain. She got me a job at her foundation for women piecing lives after abuse. I helped her face guilt over Rebecca, not spotting signs soon enough. On sentencing day, Margaret waited on the courthouse steps. We watched him led away in cuffs, yelling revenge vows echoing halls. Hopefully the last time. She turned. "Rebecca would have liked you," voice thick with rare emotion. "You're stronger than we thought." Stronger than her, definitely stronger than I was at your age, choosing survival over staying in my marriage. 6 months later. I volunteered at a women's shelter in another town, far enough for safety, close for impact. Shared my story to help spot ignored abuse signs, realize they deserve better than fear disguised as love. Learned Margaret funded it anonymously since Rebecca's death, turning guilt into mission to save others. The work drained me like nothing else. Emotionally raw, hearing echoes of my story. Seeing that fear and hope in their eyes, guiding to safety and dignity. But it healed me most, transforming in ways I never expected. A year post-divorce, David's letter came from prison. Hands shook seeing the sender. Almost trashed it, but opened against instinct. 5 pages of old manipulation, guilting me for leaving, him jailed, dangling reconciliation. Regretted, claimed change from therapy and reflection. Victim of his emotions, loved me so much he lost control but learned restraint. Reminisced good times, promised better if I gave another shot. Veiled threats as love declarations. Tossed it mid-first page, kept envelope. Therapist warned, save for cops and parole board. Some apologies come too late. Some bridges need burning. Some people don't change, no matter how convincing their jail time lies. 2 years on, at the shelter. I met Daniel, counselor for men convicted of domestic violence, breaking cycles before more hurt. He got trauma scars and restarts like few others, never made me feel broken or guilty. Patient with my jumps, nightmares, flinching at sudden moves, obsessive door locking, never raised voice, grabbed arm, made me tiptoe. During anxiety from triggers, he'd sit quiet nearby till I calmed, without babying. After 2 years dating, he proposed. First call was Margaret. "You sure about this guy?" she asked, wise from experience. "Yeah," I said, voice steady. "He makes me feel safe, like I didn't know possible. Sees my strength, doesn't dim it." Long pause. "Good, you deserve valuing, not erasing." Our wedding. Small, intimate in the shelter garden, where we volunteered. Wore Rebecca's pearl necklace Margaret loaned as something old, borrowed. As she clasped it, fingers trembling, "She'd want you to have this. See you happy after everything. Pearls perfect, shining but more. Blessing from a stranger whose story saved me." David paroled that year for good behavior, completing anger courses that clearly didn't stick. Broke order twice, first month, showed at my old bookstore, followed to grocery. Claimed coincidence.com when cops came, just restarting life, no bother. But I knew, calculated to keep me scared, remind he could reach any time. Judge didn't buy act, sent him back 2 years. Warned, next is harsher. Some never learn 'cause they won't admit wrong. Margaret said blunt. Daniel and I. Married 7 years now. 3 kids, 5-year-old twin boys, 3-year-old girl. Sometimes I see a twin clench fists in frustration, triggers my watchfulness. Teach M. Young. Use words, walk away when mad. Never lash at smaller or weaker. We keep talks, kid-sized but real. Everyone gets angry, but hitting's never okay. Practice deep breaths, count to 10, role-play handling my girl's feisty like young Margaret, strong-willed, hates injustice. At 4, a boy shoved her off swings to play. Instead of crying or tattling, she faced him. No hitting. Apologize and behave better. Teacher said she'd never seen such maturity in a tot. Proud and scared. Brave, but world has bigger threats I can't always shield. Margaret's Grammy Meg to them idolized for endless questions, museum trips, zoo outings, art, history lessons. Tells sanitized tales of a brave mom escaping a dragon, finding a kind prince. Never mentions the dragon was her son. Hope she never has to. Some family secrets stay buried, especially when protectors turn harmful. When my oldest asked why Daniel's not my first hubby, I kept it simple. Adults mess up choosing partners sometimes. Some aren't good as they seem, but you can restart with real carers. Last month, my girl spotted faint arm scars, faded reminders. Sometimes loved ones hurt us, I said, but we don't accept it. Bravest things leaving who claims love but causes pain. She listened serious too much for a kid. Asked if that's why I work helping scared women, taking late calls from criers. Yeah, exactly. Hope my kids never grasp those scars fully, or breathe them life. But if faced similar, remember choices. Don't take abuse as love, fear as protection, control as care. Margaret taught family ain't just blood or name it's, who shows in dark times, stands between you and danger. Even imperfect, with mixed motives, errors, delays from own traumas. Taught salvation comes unexpected from seeming enemy turned ally. Like a critical mother-in-law gathering proof while diminishing you, but really building your defense. 3 weeks back, Margaret called with gut-freezing news. David's arrested again. Assaulting new girlfriend, 22 like my marrying age in Barlot, after breakup try. Same scared eyes I once had. He'll never change, she said weary, unsurprised, but at least she'll be believed early. Consequences before worsening. Before honing control, offered to testify at trial on his pattern, living in constant fear from professed lover. Prosecutor says my words. Margaret stalks. New victim's marks should lock him longer under recidivist laws. Some can't tame destructive fire, master impulses. But sometimes luck and courage bring someone between you and flames. Could be expected. Friend, kin, selfless lover, or least likely. Surviving doesn't always strengthen, despite platitudes. It reveals existing strength, waiting for right moment and helping hand to wake. Margaret saw my strength before I did, believed when I couldn't. Spent years compiling proof calmly. Not just survived, thrived. Found real love, kids, help others slay dragons. Love ain't always hugs, sweet words, obvious acts. Sometimes it's impeccable mother-in-law documenting while son destroys wife. Years patient, noting, waiting, perfect strike. Police call, standing firm. Shocking parts, not violence, but who confronts sacrificing comfort, ties for strangers' help. Margaret taught heroism ain't movie flashy, often from those knowing need firsthand. Lost someone, refuse, repeat. All right, fast forward 7 years. Daniel and I are married, living in a cozy little blue house, 2 towns over, white picket fence. Actual working doorbell, the whole suburban dream I never thought I'd get. He's sick swoon, curly black hair always a mess from chasing the kids. Warm brown eyes that crinkle when he laughs, and this deep voice that calms me down even on my worst panic days. He coaches Little League on weekends, wears faded jeans and hoodies, smells like coffee and grass stains. We've got 3 kids now. The twins, Noah and Liam, 5 years old, identical down to the freckles across their noses, wild blonde curls like their dad used to have before he buzzed it. They're loud, sticky, and obsessed with dinosaurs. Then there's Sophia, 3 going on 30, tiny but fierce, with my hazel eyes and this thick dark hair she refuses to let anyone brush. She's got Margaret's chin, that stubborn little point that says try me. I see flashes of David in the boys sometimes. Not the monster, just the temper. Noah gets frustrated when he can tie his shoes and clenches his little fists so tight his knuckles go white. My heart stops every time. I drop to my knees, look him in the eye, and say, hey buddy, fists don't fix feelings. Let's breathe. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Count to 10 with mommy. We practice it like a game. They think it's fun. I know it's survival. We do role plays at dinner. Liam pretends to be mad because Noah took his toy T-Rex. I say, okay, what do we do? He puffs out his chest. I say I'm mad, and I walk away. Then we high-five. Sophia watches like a tiny judge, nodding approval. She once told Noah, we don't hit, Noah. We use words or we leave the room. At 3. I almost cried in the grocery store when she said it. Sophia's got this fire. Last month at the park, some kid, bigger, maybe 6, pushed her off the swing because he wanted a turn. She didn't cry, didn't run to me, just stood up, brushed the wood chips off her pink overalls, and marched over. That's not okay, she said, loud and clear. You don't push. You ask nicely, or you wait. Apologize. The boy blinked, mumbled sorry, and gave the swing back. The teacher told me later she'd never seen a preschooler handle conflict like that. I laughed, but inside I was shaking. Proud, terrified. Because the world has bigger swings, bigger bullies, and one day I won't be there to catch her. Margaret, or Grammy Meg as the kids call her, is their hero. She shows up every other Sunday in her cream-colored Mercedes, silver bob perfect, pearls gleaming, carrying a wicker basket full of homemade lemon bars and books from the fancy children's bookstore downtown. She's 71 now, moves a little slower, but still commands every room. The kids fight over who gets to sit in her lap while she reads. Her voice does all the characters, deep growly dragons, squeaky mice, everything. She tells them this one story over and over, The Brave Mommy and the Dragon. It's about a mommy who lived in a big castle with a mean dragon who roared and broke things. The mommy was scared, but she found a magic sword that's the folder of evidence, and a wise fairy godmother, that's Margaret, who helped her escape. Then she found a kind Prince Daniel and built a new castle where no dragons were allowed. The kids eat it up. They beg for it every time. Noah asked once, was the dragon real, Grammy? Margaret didn't miss a beat. Some dragons wear people suits, sweetheart, but they can't get in here. She tapped the front door lock 3 times, her little ritual. The kids copied her. Tap tap tap. Dragon-proof. I never told them the dragon was their uncle. Hope I never have to. Some truths are too heavy for tiny shoulders. When the boys started preschool, Noah came home saying another kid hit him during recess. My stomach dropped. I sat him down. What did you do? He shrugged. I told the teacher. Then I walked away. I hugged him so hard he squeaked. That night, Daniel and I lay in bed whispering. We're doing it, he said. Breaking the cycle. I cried into his chest. Sophia notices things. Last week she saw the faint white scars on my forearm, old ones, from when David grabbed me so hard his watch cut me. She traced them with her chubby finger. Mommy, what's this? I took a breath. Sometimes, people we love hurt us by accident, but if they keep doing it, it's not love. The bravest thing is to leave and find people who keep you safe. She thought about it, head tilted. Like when I leave the park, if someone's mean. Exactly like that baby. She nodded, satisfied, then ran off to color. But that night she crawled into my bed at 2 a.m., whispering, "I had a dream, the dragon came back." I held her until she fell asleep, her little hand gripping my shirt like a lifeline. Margaret still funds the shelter anonymously. Every Christmas, a fat check shows up with no return address. She denies it, but I know her handwriting. She visits once a month now, brings the kids to the museum. Teaches Sophia how to hold a teacup with her pinky out like a lady. Sophia rolls her eyes, but does it anyway. Last month, Margaret pulled me aside after story time. "David wrote me from prison," she said, voice flat. "Wants forgiveness. Says he's changed." I laughed, bitter, sharp. "He wrote me too. Same script. Different font." She nodded. "Some people are storms in human skin. You don't forgive the storm. You just learn to build stronger houses." I hugged her. She smelled like Chanel and lemon bars. For the first time, she hugged back. 3 weeks ago, Margaret called at 7 a.m. Never a good sign. "He did it again," she said. "No hello. David's out on parole, shacked up with a 22-year-old bartender named Kayla. Same age I was when I met him. Same wide eyes, same nervous laugh. She tried to leave after he threw a bottle at her head in a bar parking lot. He beat her so bad she needed stitches. Cops found her curled up next to a dumpster, bleeding, phone shattered. Margaret's voice was tired. She's pressing charges. I'm paying for her lawyer. I offered to testify. Flew in last week. Sat in that cold courtroom again, facing him across the aisle. He looked smaller. Prison jumpsuit instead of tailored shirts. Hair graying at the temples. But those ice blue eyes. Still dead, still scanning for weakness. The prosecutor played the 911 call from the bar. Kayla's voice shaking, sobbing. "He's gonna kill me, please hurry." Then David in the background. "You think you can leave me? I'll find you anywhere." The jury didn't even deliberate long. 10 years this time. No parole for 5. Afterward, Kayla hugged me in the hallway. She's tiny -5'2", dyed pink hair, tattoo of a phoenix on her wrist. "Thank you," she whispered. I thought I was crazy. I held her while she cried. "You're not crazy, you're free." Margaret waited outside, leaning on her cane now. Arthritis finally winning. She watched David get led away in cuffs again. No tears this time, just a slow nod. "He'll die in there," she said, not sad, just fact. I didn't answer, didn't need to. That night, Daniel and I put the kids to bed early. Sophia wanted the dragon story. I told it different this time. "The mommy didn't just escape," I said. "She built a village, taught other mommies how to spot dragons, how to lock doors, how to run." Noah yawned. "Did the dragon ever say sorry?" "Yeah," I said. "But sorry from a dragon doesn't mean safe. It just means he wants back in the castle." They fell asleep clutching their stuffed dinosaurs. Daniel kissed my forehead. "You okay?" I nodded. "I'm more than okay. I'm whole. Here's the thing they dante tell you about surviving abuse. It doesn't end when you leave. It ends when you stop looking over your shoulder. When you stop flinching at raised voices. When you can hear a door slam and not taste blood in your mouth." I still jump sometimes. Still check the locks 3 times. Still wake up at 3 a.m., convinced he's in the hallway. But then I feel Daniel's arm around me. Hear Sophia's little snores through the baby monitor. See the glow of the nightlight shaped like a star. And I breathe. I run the NGO full-time now. We've got 3 safe houses, legal aid, job training. Margaret's donations built the newest one, a bright yellow Victorian with a playground out back. Kids laugh there. Real laughs. Not the nervous kind I used to fake. Last week, a woman showed up with 2 toddlers and a black eye, reminded me of me. I sat her down with coffee and said, "You're safe now. No dragons allowed." She cried so hard she couldn't speak. I just held her hand. That's the legacy. Not the scars. Not the prison sentences. The hands we hold. The doors we open. Margaret taught me family isn't blood. It's who shows up when the world's on fire. Even if they're wearing Chanel and took 3 years to light the match. If you're watching this and you're scared, leave. Tonight, take the kids, the dog, the toothbrush. Call the hotline scrolling below. There's a bed with your name on it. There's a Margaret out there, maybe not in pearls, but with a folder, a phone, a plan. You are not the problem. You are not asking for it. You are not too sensitive. You are a whole damn person, worthy of safety. And if no one's told you today, I believe you. Hit that subscribe if this hit home. Drop your story below. Change the names if you need to. You're not alone. And if you're in danger right now, pause this video and call the numbers on screen. I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe. Stay fierce.